Sheriff Randy Williamson has been a big man in Bloomington since 1979. That's when he was first elected as Monroe County's top police officer. Even then, though, he was in a constant battle with other elected leaders. And when Williamson was elected for the second time in 1995, the friction resumed. One reason was his questionable purchases, like this baptismal font at the jail.
Spending $1,000 on a baptismal font was absurd, just absurd.
Another reason for the friction, budget-breaking overtime expenses.
This is part of what I see as a troubling pattern at the sheriff's office.
And our investigation shows that troubling pattern continues with the misuse of official vehicles, huge cell phone bills that include personal calls, and the sheriff's girlfriend billing taxpayers for unworked hours. But there's something else. Our Call 6 hidden cameras captured this: Sheriff Williamson taking cash. That's right, cash from vendors at a food show in Terre Haute. What's the sheriff doing at a food show? Ordering food for inmates' meals.
It's going to be a lot tighter the rest of this year because we don't have money. So
it was just last month that Sheriff Williamson informed the Monroe County Council that he had spent all of the money budgeted in 1997 for inmates' meals, and Williamson wanted more. He got it, a $22,000 bailout.
These meals are something that we have to do, and I think we just have to trust that the sheriff will do the best he can to return money to us if we at the end of the year.
But just 2 weeks after that meeting, instead of looking to return money to the county, Williamson and his girlfriend, the jail matron, are at the food show, strolling from booth to booth, pocketing cash. It's a so-called cash incentive paid to buyers who attend the show. And believe it or not, this is legal.
Well, I think it's a wrong system. It's a wrong-headed system.
Lunchtime, gentlemen.
The system dates back to a time when sheriffs lived at the jail and their wives cooked the meals. Sheriffs are paid a state-regulated allowance for each meal served to inmates. If they spend less than that allowance, they get to keep the difference.
I find that personally intolerable.
In his first year in office, 1995, Johnson County Sheriff J.D. Richards had a $33,000 salary, but his take-home pay was $128,000. The difference, his jail food profits.
It's not right for J.D. Richards. I didn't like it. So that's why I opted for a contract. Yeah, it was surely legal, and it still is, but not for J.D. Richards.
I'd like to think anyway that most elected sheriffs are good people, that they're going to try and do the job as best they can. They're not going to try and shortchange prisoners just because they happen to be in their facility and with the sole motivation of lining their own pockets.
Williamson says he's not shortchanging his inmates. If you read this recent memo to his jailers, though, you might think otherwise. It orders no salads with meals and other reductions in portions. On the day we visited Williamson's jail, inmates were fed a bowl of watery ham and beans, cornbread, and coleslaw. This meal, like all others, Williamson claims, costs him the full amount paid by the county, with no profit left over for him. So what about the cash he takes at the food shows?
Let me ask you, do you take cash payments from food vendors?
Take cash payment from food vendors?
From food vendors.
When they have a food show?
Yeah.
We go over and everybody that goes through there would get a cash payment of for buying so much ahead,
Right.
And then we just put that back into buying food.
While Williamson claims he uses the cash to buy more jail food, the receipts he submitted last year to the county auditor don't show that. In fact, the cash doesn't show up at all.
oh, I think it's clearly wrong. But again, I go back. It's legal.
Wrong, but legal. And this sheriff is not alone. Dozens of other sheriffs around Indiana are still pocketing profits, sometimes huge profits, with tax dollars meant for feeding prisoners. And there's nothing county officials can do about it.
The mode of the sheriff and that whole being the most powerful elected official in the county is outdated. I think we've outlived that part of the Constitution. Ought to be changed.